Good morning, children. Welcome back to your online business study class. And today we will be discussing about the last topic of chapter number 9, and that is fixed and working capital. Fixed and working capital means the capital which is required to install for fixed assets and the capital which is required to carry out the working needs. Now, before that, let's see what is fixed and what is working capital. It means we have to understand what is fixed assets and what is the current assets, because fixed capital is related with fixed assets and working capital is related with current. Now, what is fixed asset? So fixed asset basically in a business basically means which is going to remain in a business for more than 1 year. Means all those assets which will remain in our business for more than 1 year will be called as fixed asset. More than 1 year, basically the minimum 1 year, and it can be more than even 1 year, means much longer time. Now, what can be the example of fixed asset? Means if we are making a building to start up a business, that is going to remain in your business for more than 1 year and even much longer period than 1 year, so that building will be called as a fixed assets. Furnitures, the land, the vehicles, the machinery, the plant, these all are the example of fixed assets. So basically we can understand that fixed assets are all those assets of business which remain in the business for more than 1 year and which give you a huge amount of benefit and also have a huge amount of risk also, right? Now, when we talk about fixed assets, the decision to invest into fixed asset has to be taken very carefully. It means at the time of investing money into fixed assets means at the time of purchasing plant, at the time of purchasing machinery, furnitures, fixtures, land, buildings, and starting a project. We have to be very careful because these all are the part of fixed assets where a huge amount of money need to be invested. And these are certain things which reflect our business health for a longer period of time. Now, once a money has been already invested over there, once decision has been taken for the investment of fixed assets, it's very difficult to repay back those decisions. That is the reason it is told that at the time of deciding about the investment of fixed assets, the owner need to be very careful because a huge amount is invested into fixed assets. Now, the decision related with fixed assets are called as capital budgeting decision. It means how much amount is need to be invested into fixed assets. कितनी vehicles खरीदने हैं, कितनी buildings में investment करना, how many machinery are required, ये सारे fixed assets हैं. इन fixed assets से related जितने भी decision होते हैं, उन decision को हम बोलते हैं capital budgeting decision. Right? Now, everybody know now what is fixed asset जो आपके business में which is going to remain for more than 1 year, right? जो आपको एक larger manner में profit provide करते हैं and in case risk arise they give you a larger amount of risk also, right? And all the decision related with the fixed assets are called as capital budgeting decision. Now, current asset is the second thing where a owner need to take the decision that how much amount need to be invested into fixed asset and how much need to be invested into current asset. Now, current assets क्या है? Current assets are all those assets which in the normal routine of business can get converted into cash. It means जो कि easily जिसको हम cash में convert कर सकते हैं within 1 year of period. Now, the stock, the raw material which is available into the business, यू कैन ईज़िली सेल दैट. जब भी आपके पास में रॉ मटेरियल अवेलेबल है और एक्स्ट्रा है, आप उसको ईज़िली सोल्ड कर सकते हैं और आपको ईज़िली क्या हो जाता है, ऑन पेमेंट मिल जाती है और 1 year से लेस में मिल जाती है. मीन्स विच कैन बी ईजिली लिक्विडेटेड इनटू cash within 1 year or less than 1 year. That all assets are called as current assets. Now, the example for current assets are like inventories, your raw materials, your debtors, your bill receivables. These all are the example of current assets. Now, from this concept, now it should be clear to you that whenever funds are arranged into a business, it is arranged for the purpose of investment, and investment is done into two manner for a business, that is the fixed assets investment and the second is current asset investment. Fixed asset investment मतलब होता है वे we are going to invest for more than 1 year or asset which is going to remain in your business for more than 1 year, like plant, machinery, buildings, furnitures, land, technology, and lots of other things are there. Or fixed assets related all the decisions are called as capital budgeting decision. Now opposite of that, the another area where we need to invest is current asset. Current asset means those where we are related, the activity which are related for carrying out our normal routines in a business, that is called as current asset. It can be easily liquidated. Easily liquidated means it can be easily converted into cash with less than 1 year or within 1 year. Examples are the stocks, raw materials, inventories, debtors, bill receivables, right? Now, the next concept here is, this is all about fixed and working capital. नेक्स्ट कॉन्सेप्ट इज मैनेजमेंट ऑफ फिक्स कैपिटल. अब हम इसमें सिर्फ मैनेजमेंट ऑफ फिक्स कैपिटल पढ़ने वाले. मीन्स हाउ वी कैन मैनेज the investment into fixed capital. Means at the time of doing investment into fixed capital, that decision is called as capital budgeting decision, right? Now fixed capital refers to investment into a long term asset. Long term asset means which is going to remain in your business more than 1 year, right? Now these type of assets and these type of projects are a long term project which give a huge amount of profit also to a business, and which even give a huge amount of loss also to a business if the decisions are not taken correctly, right? So all those decisions are called as investment decision or capital budgeting decision. It means fixed एसेट्स में कितना इन्वेस्ट करना है, कब इन्वेस्ट करना है, इससे रिलेटेड जितने भी डिसीजन होते हैं उन्हें हम बोलते हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट डिसीजन या फिर कैपिटल बजटिंग डिसीजन. नाउ फिक्स्ड एसेट्स प्ले अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल इनटू एनी बिजनेस, एंड द रीजन बिहाइंड दैट इज that the decision related with fixed assets affect the growth, profitability, and risk of a business in a long term. It means if any wrong decision has been taken regarding the investment of fixed assets, they are going to affect your business growth also, the profitability also, and risk also, and not for a small period of time. They are going to affect your business for a longer period of time, right? Now when we talk about fixed assets, we need to understand this. It's very important to manage the capital investment into fixed assets. It means fixed assets में कितना investment करना है, आपको कितनी amount की land खरीदनी है, how much amount of building need to be invested, how much you need to invest into plant, machinery, launching a new product line, investing into a new technology. So these all are the example of fixed assets. So we need to be very careful at the time of taking decision about fixed assets, right? So the management of fixed capital or investment or capital budgeting decision are important for the following reason. It means क्यों फिक्स एसेट्स को हमें मैनेज करना पड़ता है, क्यों कैपिटल बजटिंग डिसीजन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रखते हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट डिसीजन. सो लेट्स सी द रीज़न फॉर, or let's see the reason of the importance of fixed capital or investment capital decision. Now the first is long term growth. Now the first advantage of fixed capital decision, fixed capital decision को क्यों हमें बहुत केयरफुली लेना पड़ता है, उसका पहला रीज़न हो गया, उसकी पहली इंपॉर्टेंस है फिक्स कैपिटल की, दैट लॉन्ग टर्म ग्रोथ, दैट द डिसीजन रिलेटेड विथ फिक्स एसेट्स are going to give you a long term of growth. The funds which we are going to invest into long-term assets are likely to give you long return in future, or in case any wrong decision has been taken, they are going to give you a risk also in a future. So the first advantage of the fixed capital is, fixed capital के decision की पहली advantage क्या होती है कि अगर हमने एक correct decision लिया है fixed capital में investment का, तो हमें long term के लिए growth provide कराएगा. Next is large amount of fund involved. Why the management of fixed capital is very important? It's important because the decision related with fixed capital require a large amount of fund, right? So, and therefore these investments are planned after a detailed analysis or undertaking, because this may involve decision like where to procure funds from and at what rate of interest also. Next is risk involved. Now, why fixed capital decision is very important? Fixed capital decision is very important because there is a huge amount of risk involved here. Like fixed capital involve investment into huge amount. यानी जब हम फिक्स कैपिटल में इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं तो वो अमाउंट जो होती है, इट इज़ ऑलवेज मोर देन द करेक्ट कैपिटल, करेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट. it affect the return of the firm as whole in long term. So it is very important to take these decisions in very careful manner so that business risk can be not arised. Next is irreversible decision. Now the fixed capital required a huge amount of investment, and for that we required lots of project, we required lots of funds, we required lots of machinery and things also. Once these things has been arranged, once the decision has been taken for the fixed capital investment, it's very difficult to reverse these decision back, because already a huge amount we have invested over there. So these are the main reason which say that why it's very important to have a proper look over about the fixed capital investment. Next is factor affecting the requirement of fixed capital. This say that what are the factor in a business, बिजनेस में कौन कौन से फैक्टर्स होते हैं जिन पे डिपेंड करती है फिक्स कैपिटल की रिक्वायरमेंट. सो द फर्स्ट इज नेचर ऑफ द बिजनेस. नाउ नेचर ऑफ द बिजनेस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर विच अफेक्ट द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ फिक्स कैपिटल. लाइक इफ अ बिजनेस हैज़ अ नेचर ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, business can have a nature of manufacturing also, business can have a nature of trading also. Now trading में what basically we used to do, we used to basically exchanging the good from one to another place, right. हम उसे produce नहीं कर रहे हैं, लेकिन manufacturing में हम क्या करते हैं, हम उसे produce भी करते हैं, right. So if we are going to go through with the nature also, we need to see that if any business is there which is related with the trading, so it will require low investment in fixed assets, because ट्रेडिंग में यू नीड टू जस्ट सेल एंड परचेज थिंग्स. आपको सिर्फ चीज़ों के एक्सचेंज करना है. फॉर दैट यू डोंट रिक्वायर टेक्नोलॉजी, फॉर दैट यू डोंट रिक्वायर मशीनरी, एंड वी डोंट रिक्वायर लॉट ऑफ अदर थिंग ऑल्सो. सो वहाँ पे क्या होगा, in case a business has a nature of trading, we will require less amount of fixed capital. In case a business has a nature of manufacturing business, where lots of operation need to be done, for that we require building, we require furnitures, we require technology, machine, plant. It means in manufacturing nature business, the amount of fixed capital requirement will be large, but in case of a business has a trading nature, the amount of fixed capital required will be less, right. So this is the first factor of fixed capital requirement affecting, that is nature of a business. Second is scale of operation. So this is very common even for fixed also and for current also. Scale of operation basically means if a larger organization is there which is operating into a higher scale, अगर कोई बड़ी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जो कि हायर मैनर पे ऑपरेशंस कर रही है, सो इट विल रिक्वायर बिग प्लांट, it will require more space, it will require more technology. So the same manner the high investment will be required into fixed assets. But if a small organization is there which is working into a small projects, so in that case they will require less amount of fixed assets. Now third is choice of technique. Now choice of technique basically means when we do the business, we used to have or select the technique also. There are certain organizations which go through with the option of capital intensive technique, and there are certain organizations which go through with a labor intensive technique. Now suppose a organization has choose the capital intensive technique. Capital intensive technique organization basically means it require high investment into plant and machinery and even technology also. So there will be requirement of more fixed assets, right. In case the organization is going through with a labor intensive organization means it's on the other hand it will require less investment in fixed assets. Now next is technology upgradation. Technology upgradation is one of the main factor of your requirement which affect the fixed capital requirement. That is that if any industry or if any organization has set up those type of technology in their business which get or which need to be updated time to time, which need to be replaced time to time, so in that case more and more fixed assets requirement will be there. Just opposite of that, in case there is any organization which use assets which are prone to, which don't need to change time to time, so it will require less amount of fixed capital. Next is growth prospect. Now growth prospect basically say that higher growth of an organization generally require higher investment into fixed asset. It means if any organization is there whose main motive is to have growth, जिसका मेन मोटिव है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को ग्रो कराना, वहाँ पे फिक्स कैपिटल की रिक्वायरमेंट कैसी होगी, ज़्यादा होगी. इफ़ एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज देयर whose main motive is not to grow but main motive is to earn profit and survive into the market, so in that case the requirement of fixed assets will be less. Next is diversification basically means if any organization is there who want to diversify their operation, who want to go through with lots of operation, lots of production in their business, so in that diversification case we will require more fixed capital. In case any organization is there who is following one particular plan, one particular production of product, so we will not require more fixed capital investment. Next is financing alternative. Now financing alternative basically say that a developed financial market may provide leasing facility as an alternative to outright purchase. It means financial alternative basically say that in case in the market or in the financial market organization get lots of facility of finance. Lots of facility of finance basically means like if we have a leasing facility basically means जहाँ पे कि हम किसी की मशीन को, किसी की टेक्नोलॉजी को लीज पे यूज़ कर सकते हैं. लीज मीन्स we will be using that for a particular period of time and we will be paying rent for that, so that is called as lease, right? So in that case if leasing facility is दे, if फाइनेंशियल फैसिलिटी में लीजिंग फैसिलिटी अगर अवेलेबल है, इन दैट केस द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डज नॉट नीड टू इन्वेस्ट मनी फॉर परचेजिंग प्लांट्स, for purchasing technology. They can just lease it as a form of rent and the requirement of fixed assets can be decrease. In case leasing facility is not there, in that case the organization need to purchase the different assets. It means assets purchase करेंगे तो fixed capital की requirement increase हो जाएगी. Next is label of collaboration. Label of collaboration basically say that it happened that like we have gone through with the option of joint ventures, right? Hum joint ventures we have read in class 11 where we can use the resources of other organization also. When we collaborate with other organization or other firm, we can share out and we can use the resources of each other. So if our business organizations are sharing their facility with other, so in that case there will be less requirement of fixed asset. Now in case a business organization does not have a collaboration mode, अगर कोई organization collaboration mode में नहीं है, then that case they will have more and more fixed assets requirement. So this is all about the requirement of fixed assets. Now the next decision which is supposed to be taken from a business enterprise is, the first was to see कि फाइनेंस कहाँ से अरेंज करना है. द सेकेंड इज टू सी दैट हाउ मच फाइनेंसेस नीड टू बी इन्वेस्टेड इन फिक्स एसेट्स. और फिक्स एसेट्स कौन थी? ऑल दोज एसेट्स विच आर गोइंग टू रिमेन इन टू द बिजनेस फॉर लॉन्गर देन 1 year ऑफ पेड, जो कि आप लार्जर मैनर में आपको प्रॉफिट और रिस्क प्रोवाइड कराती हैं और ह्यूज अमाउंट की इन्वेस्टमेंट जिसमें रिक्वायर्ड होती है, राइट? नाउ द नेक्स्ट इज वर्किंग कैपिटल डिसीजन. वर्किंग कैपिटल डिसीजन में अ बिजनेस इंटरप्राइज नीड टू सी that how much amount is need to be invested into working capital. Working capital basically है क्या? Working capital basically say that investment facilitates smooth day-to-day operation of a business. It means just to start a business, if we are arranging a machines, we are arranging building, we are arranging plants, we are arranging the fixture, furnitures and technology, lots of things, but do these are enough for starting a business? No, there are lots of other activities which we need to carry out, जो कि very important, these are very important for conducting our day to day operation or smooth day to day operation. Like आपने मशीन ले आएंगे, but if you don't have stock, if you don't have raw material, what you are going to use in that machine, how you are going to produce the product, right? So these raw material and rest of other activity also which is very important for a business organization to go through with the process smoothly are called as working capital requirement. Like raw material purchase करना और डे टू डे में एक बिजनेस को कंडक्ट कराने के लिए उसके डे टू डे ऑपरेशन में बहुत सारे और एक्सपेंडिचर्स लगते हैं, उसमें जो इन्वेस्टमेंट हमारा होता है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज वर्किंग कैपिटल और current assets. Now current assets are usually more liquid but contribute less to the profit than fixed assets. Now this term is already discussed here that when we talk about fixed assets, it's going to require huge amount of investment. With the huge amount of investment, it had a huge risk also, and plus द प्रॉफिट अमाउंट जो सबसे ज़्यादा होती है वो किस में होती है? फिक्स एसेट से होती है. करंट एसेट्स जो होते हैं दीज आर कॉल्ड एज more liquid in comparison to fixed asset. Liquidity basically means anything which can be easily converted into cash. So current assets can be easily converted into cash within less than 1 year also. Like if you have raw material pending with you जो आप यूज़ नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप उसको ईजिली सोल्ड कर सकते हैं और उसे क्या कर सकते हैं, कैश में आप अवेलेबल करा सकते हैं. सो दैट इज़ कॉल्ड एज वर्किंग कैपिटल. ना वर्किंग कैपिटल के कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स हैं हमारे पास में. कैश इन हैंड, कैश एट बैंक, marketable securities, bill receivables, debtors, finished good inventories, work in progress, raw material and prepaid expenses. So these all are what? These all are the example of your current assets. Now current liabilities, this is the second term in your current assets. Current liabilities क्या होती हैं? Current liabilities basically means are all those payment obligation which are due for payment within 1 year. यानी एक साल के अंदर अंदर जो आपके पेमेंट ड्यू हैं एक बिजनेस फर्म की किसी दूसरे को पे करने के लिए, वो सब हमारी क्या होती है, करंट लाइबिलिटीज़ होती हैं. इफ मीन्स इफ आई हैव टू पे समबडी who has supplied me raw material within 1 year, so that will be called as my current liabilities. Like, and the example of current liabilities are like bills payables, like creditors, like outstanding expenses which are left in the business, advance received from the customer which I need to pay back within 1 year. So these all are what? These all are my current liabilities. Right now we will be just going through with the formula of net working capital which is related with current asset and current liability. It means net working basically होता है क्या, that the finance through long term source is called as net working. It means some part of current asset is usually financed through short term sources. current asset जो होती है उसको हम बेसिकली कहाँ से करते हैं, उसको फाइनेंस शॉर्ट टर्म से करते हैं और कुछ पार्ट हम इसे लॉन्ग टर्म से भी कर सकते हैं. नाउ जो नेट वर्किंग कैपिटल होती है, इफ़ वी करंट एसेट्स में से करंट लाइबिलिटीज़ को माइनस करने के बाद में द एक्सेस विच इज़ कमिंग दैट इज़ कॉल्ड एज नेट वर्किंग कैपिटल. इट मीन्स नेट वर्किंग कैपिटल मे बी डिफाइंड एज द एक्सेस ऑफ करंट एसेट्स ओवर करंट लाइबिलिटीज़. Now, the factor affecting the working capital requirement. Now we know what is working capital requirement. Capital which is needed into a business for conducting a smooth operation of a business of day to day is called a working capital. वर्किंग कैपिटल की रिक्वायरमेंट को कौन कौन से फैक्टर अफेक्ट करते हैं. इट मीन्स व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट फैक्टर विच विल डिसाइड दैट हाउ मच अमाउंट ऑफ वर्किंग कैपिटल इज रिक्वायर्ड इन टू अ business. Now first is nature of business. Now this is same which we have done in fixed capital factors also. Nature of business basically say that a trading organization usually need a smaller amount of working capital compared to a manufacturing organization. Means business के natures आपके trading भी हो सकता है और manufacturing भी होता है. Trading nature of business basically means where we are just going to deal exchanging of goods and services. हम लोग वहाँ पे produce नहीं कर रहे हैं. What we are doing, we are basically exchanging the goods from one place to another place, one person to another person. Manufacturing में what we are doing, we are actually doing the production also there. So in case a business has a nature of trading where only exchanging is done, so we don't need to have much working capital, right? We don't need to have much working capital because we don't need to go through with many day to day routine work there. In case a business have nature of manufacturing, in that case we will require working capital because manufacturing business require raw materials which need to be converted into finished good, right? So before any sale become possible we require lots of activity for that. So in manufacturing business the working capital requirement will be high in comparison to your trading business. Next is scale of operation. Now easy. Scale of operation basically means if a organization is running into a bigger manner. अगर कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बहुत बड़े मैनर में काम कर रही है, हायर स्केल मैनर में काम कर रही है, तो डेफिनेटली द कैपिटल विच विल बी रिक्वायर्ड फॉर फिक्स्ड और इवन वर्किंग ऑल्सो विल रिक्वायर्ड मोर. इफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज वर्किंग इन टू अ स्मॉलर वे, लोअर स्केल में प्रोडक्शन कर रही है, तो वर्किंग कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट विल ऑल्सो बी लेस. नेक्स्ट इज बिजनेस साइकिल. ना बिजनेस साइकिल यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड है क्या. बिजनेस साइकिल बेसिकली से द डिफरेंट फेजेस ऑफ बिजनेस साइकिल अफेक्ट द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ वर्किंग कैपिटल बाय अ फर्म. In case of boom, the sale as well as the production are likely to be larger. It means if a business is working or if a business is facing a boom period, अगर एक business boom period face कर रहा है, boom period का face करना मतलब जहाँ पे sell भी ज़्यादा होंगे और production भी ज़्यादा होंगी, in that time we will require larger amount of working capital. But just opposite of that, if a business is not facing boom period or facing a depression period where the sell is also less and production is also going in a smaller manner, so in that case the business will require less working capital, right? क्योंकि आपको रॉ मटेरियल कम खरीदना पड़ेगा, आपके एक्सपेंडिचर्स कम होंगे डिप्रेशन पीरियड में. जब बूम का पीरियड होता है सेल बढ़ जाती है हमारी, क्योंकि कंज्यूमर की डिमांड जो होती है वो इंक्रीज़ हो जाती है, तो आपका प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज़ होता है, रॉ मटेरियल परचेजिंग इंक्रीज़ होती है और उसके साथ साथ में आपके बाकी एक्सपेंडिचर्स भी इंक्रीज़ हो जाते हैं. सो बूम पीरियड में वी विल हैव मोर वर्किंग कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट, or in case of depression period of business we will have less working capital requirement. Now seasonal factors basically say that there are certain season for some of the business. कुछ operations business के ऐसे होते हैं जो एक particular seasons में होते हैं. For example, we can understand we used to wear a different cloth at the time of winter and different at the time of summer, right? So even that also affect their demand. So in peak season, अगर peak season चल रहा है business का, because of the high level of activity, larger amount of working capital will be required. Is again of this, the level of activity as well as the requirement of working capital will be lower during the lean season. यानी अगर किसी चीज़ की पर्टिकुलर डिमांड की एक पीक सीजन में चल रहा है, अभी उसकी डिमांड पीक पे है, तो दैट टाइम वी विल रिक्वायर more working capital for that type of organization. But if any organization is going for that business where the demand is in lean, so that kind of business will require less working capital. Next is production cycle. Now production cycle basically say that a time spent between the receipt of raw material and their conversion into finished good. It means when we have received raw material, from that time receiving और raw material से लेके जब तक कि वो रॉ मटेरियल एक फिनिश्ड गुड में नहीं आ जाता है, उस पूरे पीरियड को हम बोलते हैं प्रोडक्शन साइकिल, राइट? नाउ सम बिजनेस हैव लॉन्गर प्रोडक्शन साइकिल while some have shorter one. It means there are some product which can be easily converted in from raw material to finished good within a short period of time. और कुछ प्रोडक्ट ऐसे होते हैं जिनको रॉ मटेरियल से एक फिनिश प्रोडक्ट में कन्वर्ट करने में ज़्यादा टाइम लगता है. That all is called as production cycle. Now duration also affect it. Like in case the length of production cycle affect the amount of fund required for raw. Working capital requirement will be high in a firm with longer processing cycle and lower in a firm with shorter processing cycle. It means कोई भी एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अगर इस तरह के प्रोडक्ट को बना रही है जहाँ पे कि उस प्रोडक्ट को शॉर्ट पीरियड में रॉ मटेरियल से कन्वर्ट कर लिया जाता है एक फिनिश प्रोडक्ट में, तो इन दैट केस द रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर द फंड ऑफ वर्किंग कैपिटल विल बी लेस. इन केस अ प्रोडक्शन साइकिल इज टेकिंग मोर टाइम, means converting product from raw material to finished good took much time, so that kind of business will require more working capital. Next is credit allowed. Now credit allowed basically say that different firm allow different credit terms to their customers. These depend upon the level of competition that a firm face as well as the credit worthiness of their client. A liberal credit policy result in higher amount of debtors, increasing the requirement of working capital. It means if we are going through with the policy of credit, where what we are doing, if we have a liberal credit policies, अगर हमारी एक credit policy क्या है, liberal है, so in that case the higher amount of debtors will there, it will increase the requirement of working capital. अगर हम credit facility provide करा रहे हैं तो हमें क्या होगा, वर्किंग कैपिटल की रिक्वायरमेंट ज़्यादा होगी. नाउ क्रेडिट अवेल्ड यानी वी कैन हैव क्रेडिट इन टू वे. एक तो हम कस्टमर को क्रेडिट दे रहे हैं और दूसरा हम क्रेडिट ले रहे हैं अपने सप्लायर से गुड्स को. नाउ क्रेडिट अवेलेबल बेसिकली से जस्ट एज अ फर्म अलाउड क्रेडिट टू इट्स कस्टमर, इट ऑल्सो मे गेट क्रेडिट फ्रॉम इट्स सप्लायर. So to the extent it avails the credit on purchase, the working capital requirement will be reduced. If a organization can able to purchase raw material from the supplier in a form of credit, it means they don't need to go through with the immediate payment सो इन दैट केस द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ वर्किंग कैपिटल विल बी लेस, क्योंकि आप स्टॉक खरीदोगे, रॉ मटेरियल खरीदोगे, लेकिन आपको उसको पे नहीं करना पड़ रहा इमीडिएटली, आपने उसको क्रेडिट में परचेज कर लिया, तो वर्किंग कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट क्या होगी हमारी, लेस होगी. नेक्स्ट इज ऑपरेटिंग इफिशियंसी. Operating efficiency basically say that how firm is managing their operation with varied degree of efficiency. It means that what is our operating efficiency? Are we able to efficiently managing the operation of our business or not? If, for example, a firm managing its raw material efficiently may be able to manage with a smaller balance. यानी अगर कोई फर्म है जो कि अपने रॉ मटेरियल को ईजिली मैनेज कर रही है, means whatever raw material has been come, they have produced that. So in that case what will happen, we will require a small balance. So this is reflected in a high inventory turnover ratio. Similarly, a better debtors turnover ratio may achieve reducing the amount tied up in receivable. So it basically say that efficiency may reduce the level of raw material, finished goods and debtor, resulting in lower requirement of working capital. It means if we are not wasting the raw material, it means we are demanding the raw material according to our requirement only. We are optimally using that raw material and producing the product. In that case, we will require less working capital. But if any organization is there who is not able to optimum utilize their raw material, they are demanding the raw material also in a excess manner और उसको ऑप्टिमम यूटिलाइज भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, वहाँ पे हमारी जो वर्किंग कैपिटल की रिक्वायरमेंट क्या हो जाएगी, वो ज़्यादा हो जाएगी. Next is availability of raw material. Now, if the raw material and other required material are available freely and continuously, lower stock level may be suffice. It means if raw material are available easily or freely or in less cost, so definitely we will require less working capital. Or in case the raw material is not available easily, वी नीड टू स्टॉक इट, हमें एक्सेस परचेज करके उसको स्टॉक करके रखना पड़ रहा है, स्टोर करके रखना पड़ रहा है, वहाँ पे हमें क्या करना पड़ रहा है, वी हैव टू इंक्रीज द एक्सपेंडिचर ऑफ स्टोर हाउस ऑल्सो. तो यहाँ पे आपकी वर्किंग कैपिटल की रिक्वायरमेंट क्या होगी, इंक्रीज होगी. नेक्स्ट इज द ग्रोथ प्रोस्पेक्ट. नाउ ग्रोथ प्रोस्पेक्ट बेसिकली से दैट it will require large amount of working capital so that it is able to meet higher production and sell target whenever required. It means if a business has a objective of growth ka objective means they want to grow their business. They not only having the objective of profit and surviving in the market, बट उनको ग्रो कराना अपने बिजनेस को. इट मीन्स ग्रो कराना कब होगा बिजनेस, जबकि हमारे सेल के टर्नओवर क्या होंगे, इंक्रीज होंगे. And when the turnover of cell will increase, when there will be more production, and if there will be more production, we will require more raw material demand. It means growth perspective अगर किसी business का है, then that case we will require high amount of working capital. If a business does not have growth prospect, they only have the profit motive and to surviving motive into the market, we will require less amount of working capital. Next is level of competition. Now level of competition basically say higher level of competitiveness may necessitate larger stock of finished good to meet urgent orders from customer. This increase the working capital requirement. Competition may also force him to extend liberal credit term discussed earlier. It means level of competition. Market में competition का level कैसा है? Like if we are following the monopoly system there or perfect competition system है. Monopoly competition basically means only one seller is there. परफेक्ट कॉम्पिटिशन मीन्स एक सेम प्रोडक्ट के कई सेलर प्रोड्यूसर हैं वहाँ पे. सो अगर कॉम्पिटिशन ज़्यादा है मार्केट में, इन दैट केस वी विल रिक्वायर मोर स्टॉक अवेलेबल विथ अस enough finished good, ताकि whenever the customer demand will increase, we will be able to avail that into a market. But in case the competition is less, so we don't require more working capital, because we can work in such a way also that whenever the demand will come, we will produce according to that only. Customer does not have any choice to go anywhere, he has to wait for us only. So the level of competition also define, or level of competition is also one of the factor which decide the requirement of working capital. Next is inflation. Inflation basically say rising prices. Rising prices basically say the large amount are required even to maintain a constant volume of production and sell. So the working capital requirement of business will be higher. It means if a business is facing a period of inflation. Inflation का period हो गया, it means the larger amount of money will require even to produce the same amount of production which we are doing earlier also. क्यों? क्योंकि रॉ मटेरियल के प्राइसेस हमारे इंक्रीज हो जाते हैं, बाकी एक्सपेंडिचर्स के रेट हमारे इंक्रीज हो जाते हैं इन्फ्लेशन के पीरियड में. सेम प्रोडक्शन वॉल्यूम हम लोग क्या करते हैं, एक लार्ज अमाउंट में प्रोडक्शन होता है फिर. सो इन दैट केस द वर्किंग कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट विल बी more. But just opposite of this, if the company or if the market is not facing the problem of inflation, the requirement of the working capital will be less. So student, in today's video we have just discussed about what is fixed capital, what is working capital, and what are the different factors which affect the requirement of fixed and working capital. With this we have finished with this chapter, that was financial management.